Hello my dear students, welcome to the online classes of economics. In the last class we have discussed the consumer's equilibrium under double commodity approach, or we say two commodity approach, and we also studied the consumer's equilibrium under single commodity approach, and we have cleared the concepts of utility, marginal utility, total utility and law of diminishing marginal utility. So today we will be discussing one of the important topic, that is indifference curve analysis. So what is indifference curve? An indifference curve is a locus of the different combination of two commodities which give the consumer same level of utility. An indifference curve is also known as iso-utility curve. Now what is indifference curve actually? Actually it is a combination of two goods. Okay, suppose you are consuming 2 kg of apples and 5 kg of oranges. So it is one combination. And in combination 2, we are consuming 3 kg of apple and 4 kg of oranges. Both combination will give consumer same level of satisfaction. Clear? Now let us see indifference curve with the help of indifference schedule. And you can see in this indifference schedule there are various combination. Combination A, B, C, D and E. So when in combination A, a consumer consumes 1 unit of commodity 1 and 60 units of commodity 2, a consumer gets satisfaction of 60. So similarly in combination B, a consumer consumes 2 units of commodity 1 and 30 units of commodity 2 gives a satisfaction of 60. Similarly in 3 units of commodity 1, 20 units of commodity 2 will give a consumer satisfaction of 60. So in every combination you can see the consumer gets same level of satisfaction. So in indifference curve, every combination of two commodities will give consumer same level of satisfaction. Now you can notice one thing, that whenever consumer is increasing the consumption of commodity 1, the consumer is sacrificing some units of commodity 2. The reason behind this, to keep the satisfaction same, as in every combination consumer is getting same level of satisfaction. So whenever consumer increases the consumption of commodity 1, the consumer sacrifices some units of commodity 2. So the rate at which the consumer is ready to sacrifice one commodity, say commodity 2, in order to consume one more extra unit of commodity 1, that rate is called marginal rate of substitution. The formula for finding marginal rate of substitution is delta y by delta x. Now what is delta? Delta y means change in y and delta x is change in x. So let us find one MRS here. So MRS. So we'll find MRS with the help of formula delta y by delta x. So in the first case there is no change, that is 1 units of commodity 1 and 60 units of commodity 2. So satisfaction is 60. So there is no change. But in second, that is combination B, whenever the consumer is increasing the consumption from 1 to 2, the consumer is sacrificing 30 units. From 60 the consumption decreased to 30, means there is a decrease, there is a change of 30 units. So the MRS for combination B will be 30 and there is change in x is 1. So 30 by 1, that is 30. And the second case you can see again the consumption of commodity 1 is increased by 1. So the consumption of commodity 2 is decreased by 10. So delta y is 10 and delta x is 1. So MRS will be 10. Clear? Similarly in combination D, the consumption of commodity 2 is decreased by 5. So delta y will be 5 and the consumption of commodity 1 is increased by 1, that is 5 by 1. So it will be 5. And in combination E, the consumption of commodity 2 is decreased by 3 and the consumption of commodity 1 is increased by 1. It is 3. Now you can see in the whole process MRS is decreasing. So in indifference schedule it is concluded that whenever consumer consumes 1 unit extra of commodity 1, it has to forego or sacrifice some units of commodity 2, that is MRS. And indifference curve in indifference curve, every combination gives a consumer same level of satisfaction, and in order to keep the satisfaction level same, a consumer sacrifices some units of commodity 2 in order to get the combination of one extra units of commodity 1. So this whole process is called indifference curve analysis. This is the diagrammatic representation of indifference curve. Here you can see combination A, B, C, D and E are represented in a indifference curve, which gives consumer same level of satisfaction. Now indifference map. Indifference map is a set of indifference curves, each one of which represents a given level of utility. The further the curve from the origin, the higher is the level of utility it represents. Now indifference map is nothing but a group of indifference curve represented in a single diagram. Let us see the diagram of indifference map. In the diagram you can see that there are three indifference curves, IC1, IC2 and IC3. IC means indifference curve. So IC1, IC2 and IC3. Now the curve which is away from the origin means the outermost curve, that is IC3. IC3 will give higher satisfaction, okay, and IC1 will give the lowest satisfaction to the consumer. Clear? So this was the concept of indifference map. Now let us see some of the properties of indifference curve. The first property is indifference curve is negatively sloped. Now, as we have discussed earlier, to keep utility level constant, an increase in commodity 1 must combine with a decrease in other commodity, say commodity 2. Like in MRS we have discussed that whenever we want to increase the consumption of one commodity, say commodity 1, the consumption level of commodity 2 goes on decreasing. Means it is the commodity 2 is sacrificed, the units of commodity 2 is sacrificed in order to get the commodity 1. So that is the reason indifference curve is negatively sloped. Number 2. Indifference curve is convex to the origin. It is due to diminishing marginal rate of substitution. As we have seen in indifference schedule, that MRS goes on decreasing. This is the reason indifference curve is convex to the origin. Number 3. Two indifference curve can't cut or touch one another. As we know that indifference curve represent same level of satisfaction. Now, if two indifference curves join together or they touch together, it will not give same level of satisfaction to the consumer. So, we can say that two indifference curves can't cut or touch one another. The fourth and the last one is higher indifference curve represent higher level of satisfaction or utility. High indifference curve represent those combination which yield higher level of satisfaction than the combination on the lower indifference curve, as we have seen in indifference map. So these were the properties of indifference curve. The last topic will be budget line. The budget line is the locus of the different combination of two goods that the consumer can purchase with given prices of the goods and the income of the consumer. And budget line is also called price line. Now in simple sentence, if I say budget line represents all combination of goods and service which a consumer can purchase with his given money income. So this is the diagrammatic representation of budget line, where BL represents budget line. So here I end today's topic. Thank you, students.